Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to do an oral and written retell for second grade journeys, lesson 1, Henry and Mudge. So we're going to review our turn and talk routine. So I'm going to ask you questions from the story, and you're going to think about your answer and think how you're going to answer it. And if you have a partner at home, you can pair up with your partner and talk to them, or you can be my virtual partner. And then when it's your turn, share out your answer in a complete sentence. I can't hear you, but I will give you sentence frames or sentence stems so that you can answer in a complete sentence. So Henry and Mudge is a reality story. So reality stories, here's our noticings. What do we notice about reality stories? The story could happen. It's real. It could be real. It's just like our real lives. The story could happen. Reality stories, the places are real. The people can be real. Animals act like animals, and you might learn facts. And it can be funny, all right? So this is a story that could happen. Henry and Mudge is a story that could happen, but it is still fiction. It was made up by the author. So let's review our vocabulary words from the story. Do you remember number 1? Say it out loud if you know it. Straight. Straight means not curling, curving, or bending. Straight. 2, do you know this one? Collars, bands that animals wear around their necks, collars. 3, row, a number of things arranged in a line, row. Number 4, floppy, hanging or moving in a loose, droopy way, floppy. Number 5, stood. That's a past tense for to stand, was in an upright position on one's feet. So if you're standing, but it already happened, you stood. Stood. Number 6, drooled. The root word is drool, and it has an ed ending. Drooled, let saliva drip from the mouth. Number 7, curly, having a twisted ring or spiral shape. Curly comes from the root word to curl. Number 8, weighed, past tense. The root word is weigh. If you weigh yourself, or if you weighed yourself, that means you already did it in the past. Had a certain heaviness, weighed. All right, let's go over our learning target. Repeat after me. I can retell the story, Henry and Mudge, with my partner using pictures, words, and sentences. So our goal is to be able to retell the story, Henry and Mudge, a reality story. It could happen in real life, with my partner using pictures, words, and sentences. So success criteria, that means how will you know you're successful at reaching your learning target? Well, I'm going to tell you the steps for success. And this lesson is kind of like climbing a learning mountain, and our goal is to get to the top. So let's see our steps. I will, number 1, answer the talk about it questions. I'm going to ask you some questions. Number 2, I will say and match the characters and setting. We're going to talk about who is in the story and the setting where the story takes place. I will, number 3, write or match the lesson or moral of the story. And the lesson or moral of the story is what the characters learned. What was the important lesson they learned in the story? Number 4, I will put the retelling pictures in the correct sequence or order. And number 5, I will write or match the sentences to each picture saying what happened first, later, and last. And don't worry, we'll do that together. So let's review our turn and talk rules if you have a partner at home, or if I'm your virtual partner. Turn and talk rules. Number 1, if you have a partner, make sure you're looking at them and facing them eye to eye and knee to knee. Number 2, first one person talks, the other person listens. So if I'm your partner, make sure you listen to what I say and the sentence stems and the questions that I give you. And number 3, the next person talks and the other person listens. But number 4, do not talk too long on your turn or your partner will not have time. So whatever I say or whatever your partner says, you may agree with your partner. So you can say, I agree with you because, and tell me why. Or you can disagree and say, I disagree with you, Mrs. Pearson, because, and say why. So here's our first main event in the story, Henry and Mudge. And if you were to go to the Journeys textbook, you could reread pages 16 and 17. So look at the picture. Do you remember this picture? Who is in the picture? And what is happening? So the question, what does Henry want and why? So we see Henry here. What does Henry want and why? Well, think about that. First, Henry wants blank because, so tell me why. Second, Henry wants, and then finally third, he wants. So what were the 3 things he wanted? First, Henry wants because, second, he wants, and third, he wants. What were the 3 things he asked for? So say it in a complete sentence and I'll give you time to say it out loud. First, second, third. So if you remember, first Henry wants a brother or a sister because he's lonely. He asks his parents and they say no. Second, Henry wants to move to a different neighborhood because there's not any kids in his neighborhood to play with. But his parents say, sorry, no, we can't move. And then third, what does he finally want or ask for? Third, he wants a dog. So first, Henry wants a sibling or a sister or a brother because he's lonely. Second, Henry wants to move to another neighborhood so he can have more friends. And then third, he wants a dog or a pet. All right, number 2, do you remember this picture? Who is in the picture? Think about that. Where are they? And what is happening? So you could reread pages 18 to 19. And our question is, why are Henry and his family happy in the picture? Look at their faces. They're happy. Why are Henry and his family happy in the picture? Well, let's say it in a complete sentence. They are happy because. They are happy because. Say it out loud. Well, they are happy because Henry asked for a dog and the parents decided to let him have a dog. So Henry's happy and he wants to hug his parents because he's so happy. And his parents are happy because they're able to give him something that he really wants. How have they solved Henry's problem? So think about that. What was Henry's problem? They solved the problem by They solved the problem by well, I already told you they solved the problem by allowing him to have a dog because Henry was lonely. So number 3, look at the picture. Who is in the picture? What's going on? Where are they? You can read more about this on pages 21 and 22 in the Journeys textbook. Number 1, our first question is, what kinds of dogs does Henry look at? Look at all those dogs in the picture. What kinds of dogs does Henry look at? Why does he choose Mudge? So think about how you're going to answer that question in a complete sentence. Henry looks at, finish that thought. Henry looks at, he chooses Mudge because, so first tell me what kinds of dogs does he look at? Henry looks at, and he chooses Mudge because, well, Henry looks at all types of dogs, curly-haired, straight, long, short, little, big, and he chooses Mudge because Mudge is his perfect dog. He chooses Mudge because I believe he has straight hair and he has a drooly face. It just was perfect for him. So, which dog would you choose and why? So if you had to choose a dog, what type of dog would you choose and why? So say that in a complete sentence. I would choose because, well, I personally would choose the small dog with the curly hair because I have 2 dogs that are small and I enjoy them very much. Their names are Zoe and Coco. And I like little dogs with curly hair. Here's our last main event picture. Who is in the picture? Where are they and what's happening? If you were to look for this picture in our book, you could reread pages 22 to 25 to find out more and answer these questions. Number 1, how has Mudge changed from when Henry first picked him? Wow, he has changed a lot. I know that. Look at Mudge in this picture. How has Mudge changed from when Henry first picked him? Did he look like this when he first picked him? Well, let's answer it first. Mudge. Now, Mudge. So say it out loud. First, Mudge. Now. Well, first Mudge was a small little puppy, and he was teeny tiny, but now Mudge is big. He's like 3 feet tall, and before he was just a tiny puppy. And first Mudge was so small he maybe weighed like a sack of sugar, but now he probably could weigh as much as a bicycle. So he was small and light, and then he got very big and tall. So, number 2, how does Henry feel now compared to the beginning of the story and why? So, think at the beginning of the story, Henry did not have Mudge. So, first, Henry felt because, so think about that. First, Henry felt because, say it out loud. So I would say first Henry felt sad and lonely because he didn't have a pet and he didn't have friends in his neighborhood, and he didn't have a brother or sister to play with. But now Henry feels, how do you think Henry feels now that he has Mudge? Now Henry feels, I'd say now Henry feels happy because he has Mudge to play with as a pet, and he's a good companion. So boys and girls, if we were in class, your teacher might give you this. We're going to do a retell of Henry and Mudge. So retell, that means we're going to tell the story again. So our first part of our story, we're going to talk about the characters were. Who were the characters in the story? Say them out loud. Who were the characters? The characters were? Well, the characters were the parents, Henry, and Mudge, the dog. The setting, where did the story take place? The setting was the setting was the home and the neighborhood. Remember, they were both at home and in the neighborhood. So now we're going to put the pictures that we talked about in the correct sequence. Do you remember this picture? First, later. Think about what's going on in each of the pictures because we're going to talk about them. First, later, next, and finally last. So what's going on first in that picture? First, say it out loud. First, well, I'll read. First, Henry stood and played alone outside. He wanted a brother, but his parents said no. Then he asked if they could move, but his parents still said no. So notice he's standing there and he wanted a brother because he was alone and his parents said no. But then he asked if they could move and the parents still said no. So then later, what's going on in this picture? Later, Henry asked for a dog. His parents almost said no, but changed their minds. Henry was so happy that he stood between them and gave them a big hug. He said, "Can I be in that hug too?" So later, Henry asked for a dog. His parents almost said no, but changed their minds. Henry was so happy that he stood between them and gave them a big hug. So next, what's going on in the picture? Next, say it out loud. Next, he went to look for a dog. Some had curly hair or pointed ears. Henry chose Mudge because he was a puppy who had floppy ears and straight fur. So last, what's finally happened at the end or last part of the story? What's going on? Last, Mudge grew out of 7 collars and eventually weighed 180 pounds. Even though Mudge drooled a lot, Henry was happy to have a new friend. So now remember, characters learn a lesson usually in a story or there's a moral. So it says here, let me get that to move. In the end, Henry learned that Mudge was the perfect. So in the end, Henry learned that Mudge was the perfect what? Pet. So boys and girls, thank you for retelling the story with me and answering the talk about it questions. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.